This is the Build Wealth Canada podcast, episode number 55.
Welcome to the Build Wealth Canada podcast, where it's all about becoming debt-free, accelerating your wealth, and taking control of your money. Now, here's your host, Cornell Schreiber.
Hey, it's Cornell and welcome to the Build Wealth Canada show. So I often get asked what I think of robo-advisors, and my answer has consistently been that while I like how they make investing easy and accessible to everyone, I still feel that in Canada, they are pretty expensive for what you get. Even something like a 0.5 percentage point fee can amount to tens of thousands of dollars paid in fees over your investment lifetime. And I mean, that's money that could have been invested instead. So for me personally, that is too much, as I can pay almost 80% less by just being a do-it-yourself investor, so a DIY investor, and just buying those ETFs that the robo-advisors hold directly myself. So a discount of 80% sounds amazing, right? Why would anybody not take that and just be a DIY investor like myself? Well, a common problem that holds some Canadians back, I think, from doing this is that it does take a bit of learning and practice to be a DIY investor. And frankly, since we're not taught this in school, it can be pretty intimidating. And I've talked to a lot of, really, really smart people who just get intimidated by this. And that's totally, normal, because it can be intimidating. And the entire industry is built on kind of making this intimidating so that you go get an expensive advisor and get those expensive mutual funds. And that's how they make their money. So I think that many would-be investors don't even get started because they get intimidated by this, learning how to actually buy ETFs on the exchange and learning how to rebalance their portfolio so they don't accidentally end up taking on too much risk. So this is why I'm really excited to have Brendan Lee Young on the show today, as he and his team at Passive have actually built a tool that automates a lot of these pieces that investors find intimidating. And these tools also save you a ridiculous amount of time as well. Now, I've been using the tool very heavily myself, and I have actually integrated my wife and I's entire investment portfolio with it, and I'm absolutely hooked on using it just because of all the time it saves me. And so I wanted to have Brendan on the show to talk about it. And now, even if you already know how to be an index investor, maybe you've taken my course and are no longer intimidated by all this, I still find the tool incredibly helpful, and I continue to use it as it will automatically rebalance for you, so you no longer have to use a spreadsheet, among other things. Now don't get me wrong, I love my rebalancing spreadsheet. I made it myself. It's all custom made. It's all nice. If you've taken the course, you've seen it. And I love spreadsheets in general, but it's so nice to not have to do any manual entry into a spreadsheet anymore and to know exactly how many units of each ETF I have to buy. Now, the other piece that I really like is that it lets me see the balances of all my family's accounts in one place. And now this is huge because think about it. You and your partner probably have at least 2 accounts each. So you probably have a TFSA and an RSP each, at the very, very least. In our case, for my wife and I, and for our kids, we actually have 7 accounts because we each have a TFSA, we each have an RSP, we each have a taxable account, so a non-registered account, and we have an RESP account for our kids as well. So if you ever wanted to know, like let's say myself, if I ever wanted to know what the value was of all our investments, you'd have to log into the different accounts, manually enter the totals for each account, and then you have to look up to see if you have any cash in each account from any of the dividends payments you might have received. Then you'd have to add all those to the total, and then you finally get a sum of everything. So it's just kind of, it's not a difficult calculation. It's pretty simple. It's just adding things up. But it's really annoying, right? Because you're logging in, logging out, adding to a spreadsheet, summing the different things. Or instead, with Passive, I instead get that number in one click. You basically see that total number, your entire portfolio value in one click. You see it as soon as you log into the account. So that, is awesome. And that part has got me totally hooked because it's really fun to check on your portfolio, see how it's doing without going through this giant hassle of doing all these calculations. And what's also really great is that I get an email anytime that dividends get issued in any of my accounts. So this is something that they do, and you can get a free account with them, and they will tell you this automatically for free, which is awesome. So, this way I don't have to log into my accounts periodically to see if there is any new dividend money to invest. So those are my favorite things about passive, and I really want to have one of the co-founders on the show to talk about it. So in a sec, I'll play my interview with Brendan, but what's also neat is that all of this integrates with the brokerage that I use for all my investments, which is Questrade. And so on this episode, I also have Stephen Graham on the show, who is Questrade's Chief Operating Officer. And so we talk about the partnership between Questrade and Passive, which is what allows the Passive tool to do all of this for us. And we also talk about how secure all of it is, the coverage that all investors have when using the tool, whether we can expect to continue to be able to buy ETFs for free using Questrade, and much, much more. All right, so let's get right into it. I definitely encourage you to check Passive out. You can actually get access to it for free by going to buildwealthcanada.ca/passive. That's buildwealthcanada.ca/passive. It's totally free. And just as an FYI, that I have the premium account, the premium paid account with them. It's called the Elite Member. So there are some features that you only get access to as a paid member, but things like the automatic calculations for your rebalancing and the dividend notifications that I just talked about, all of those are totally free. So I definitely encourage you to at least become a free user for that, as it'll save you a ton of time. And also, you get those dividend notifications, which is amazing, as you'll no longer have those dividend payouts just sitting there in your account, not earning you anything. You'll instead be notified when they arrived, and then you can invest them right away and get that compound growth going for you immediately. So that link again to sign up for Passive for free is buildwealthcanada.ca/passive. Definitely check it out. I'm so glad that we're seeing this kind of innovation in Canada. I definitely encourage you, to support them. I definitely am as well. And now let's get into the interview. All right, Stephen, Brendan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem, guys. So I've definitely been enjoying using Passive. I actually just got a notification email from Passive that my dividends have been deposited into my Questrade account. So that's really convenient, as now I don't have to, keep checking if they've arrived every day around this time, just so that I can reinvest them. So I love that time-saving feature. And I really like how you guys have automated rebalancing, just so that I no longer have to do manual data entry into my spreadsheet, just to know how much to buy and how much to sell when rebalancing. So it's definitely a huge convenience and time saver for me personally. But let's start off with you, Brendan. Tell us a bit more about what Passive does.
Sure, Cornell. So our goal really is to make self-directed investing simple to follow for everyday investors. So basically that they can save money and time. The problem with self-directed investing is that you have to build and maintain spreadsheets. You got to enter data to get calculations. And then, of course, find time during your busy day to make trades. And so Passive simplifies this entire process by making it easy for self-directed investors to invest and save for retirement.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I know I personally use a spreadsheet and I feel comfortable with it, but I feel like the rebalancing piece in particular holds a lot of people back, right? I mean, if someone isn't used to doing mathematical calculations on a spreadsheet and then using that to make actual real money investing decisions, I mean, it can be a little intimidating, I think, for some people. So, I mean, when I first found out about you guys, that was really, they got me really, really interested, because I think it bypasses a giant barrier that a lot of people have. Now, what are the key benefits of using Passive? We already touched on some of them, but to summarize, kind of what are the key benefits that you see, and why should I and other Canadians be using Passive?
Sure. I mean, there's really like three main benefits. Passive gives you the confidence to invest on your own. We've got a minimalist design, and it's intended to keep you focused on contributing to your investments and not on whether the market is up or down. And we're also taking the hassle out of investing. So like you mentioned, you get those real-time calculations of the trades that are needed to be made in order to bring your portfolio back into alignment. And of course, we've got this cool buy-only setting that helps you identify the underweight assets in your portfolio. So it saves you even more time. Lastly, we kind of see Passive as a benefit to users because we're saving you money. So, when someone's saving for retirement, they may be using mutual funds. And as we all know, these mutual funds can be costly. So if you use Passive, you can actually move those assets which are held in mutual funds into Questrade and then replace them with low-cost, broadly diversified ETFs, which have lower management fees if you compare them to mutual funds. Of course, the really good thing is as well is that Questrade charges no commissions on ETF purchases. So if your focus is on accumulating wealth, you never have to pay trading commissions. And in fact, my business partner, Brendan Wood, he's never paid a trading commission in his life since he's been with Questrade.
That's great. There should be like a badge or something you get, like a complete like a achievement of some sort, right? Where if you've never paid a commission or something, or if you've never had to pay the 2.5% MERs or anything like that. No, that's great. Stephen, let's kick things over to you. Why did you guys decide to partner with Passive?
Well, you know what? We saw a great opportunity mainly because Passive had created this fantastic tool, and they had connected to Questrade because we had an API that they particularly liked. So they were connecting and utilizing Questrade for their clients. And so we found out about this. We met with them, saw the significant benefits that this gave to customers, and said, you know what, this is something we should offer to our customers. This capability to easily rebalance portfolios is something we know customers are particularly interested in, and Passive built a very simple interface and tool to do that. And so we said, let's talk about a partnership, and this is the launch of that partnership. I should also mention that Brendan is right, that if you have a self-directed account with Questrade, you pay no trading commissions on the buys of any ETF, so you can buy any ETF. You only pay it on the trade end. But if you're accumulating and you're just adding to your portfolio, that's something for a later day. But it makes it incredibly efficient in terms of how you can accumulate assets in a self-directed account, and you can rebalance it according to the type of the balancing you want against the different types of things in your portfolio quite easily with Passive.
For sure. Yeah, I really love how you guys have the free ETF buying. I mean, I've been with Question now for many, many years. And I mean, it's what I recommend basically for everyone. And I mean, it's a good way to get started. And it's interesting because, I get hit up with all these ads all the time from your competitors basically saying, hey, we'll give you 100 trades for free, or, whatever X many trades for free. And then, you kind of redefine print, and it's like, oh, well, you only get those for a limited time, or you get them, but after you do those trades, you now have to pay, let's say, $10 a trade, for example, right? And so you kind of, so what are you really going to do? Are you going to be switching brokerages every 3 months once you run out of free trades? Like, you're not going to do that, right? So it's such a hassle. So I really like with you guys how it's just you buy the ETFs for free. You don't have to worry about it being some temporary offer, that's going to expire a week from now or a month from now. So yeah, a big tip of the hat to you guys for doing that for Canadian investors. I love that feature of you guys.
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the things that we have a very simple mission at Questrade, and that is to truly care about how we can further improve the financial success and security of Canadians. Technology has changed things a lot in the financial services sector, and we're a company that really is, I think, taking a leadership position in how we make the whole process of investing and financial services generally much more efficient, which means the benefit stays with the people whose money it is, which is Canadians. And as if you take 1% or 2% out of your costs for investing, that makes a huge difference over time.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's great. And then, Brendan, to kick things over to you, why did you guys decide to partner with Questrade? Why not someone else?
Sure. Well, the obvious thing is we're all Questrade customers, so we sort of perceive Questrade as one of those financial institutions that really looks out for the little guy, and we said, well, if we had to partner with anyone, it should be Questrade, because they are, in my opinion, and I'm biased because I'm a client, but they are the online broker of choice for many self-directed investors, especially because they've got these zero commissions on ETF purchases. And that's, really perfect for someone who wants to pay themselves first and be self-directed and save for retirement.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think you guys are really lowering the barrier to entry for someone that wants to become a DIY investor, but is maybe a little bit, reluctant, maybe a little bit intimidated, right? I mean, the industry spends so much money making all of this sound very, very complicated, so that you go with an expensive advisor and, buy the really high fee mutual funds and that kind of a thing. So, I mean, and like I said before, I think people get hung up on the rebalancing piece because it can be intimidating for some, who doesn't maybe have, who isn't used to working with numbers all the time. And so people might resort to maybe a robo-advisor, but then, their fees are relatively high, I would argue, as well. And so this is kind of a nice way to transition to being a DIY investor, where you don't have to learn every single component at once, and you don't have to learn the rebalancing piece right away because basically Passive does it for you. So I think that's great. Now, Stephen, is Passive the first sort of Canadian company that you guys have partnered with in this kind of way, with the API integration and all of that?
Not the first, but I would say a pretty significant one relative to how we think we can really benefit customers. One of the things that we have as an offering is we have obviously self-directed accounts. We're the largest independent self-directed broker in Canada. We're the fastest growing. We have across our two businesses, we have over $9 billion in assets now, and we do more trades per month than online than anybody else in Canada, except for RBC and TD now. So we have a large base of customers, and we're looking for ways to make it easier and easier for them to make smart financial decisions and empower them to make better decisions. And so this is a fantastic tool for the purposes of that. And we have a robo offering, which is Quest Wealth Portfolios, which is managed portfolios of ETFs. We have our self-directed business. And the great thing with Passive is it kind of gives you a bit of a hybrid, in the sense that you can do self-directed investing if you want, but you can also get fantastic assistance in managing your asset allocation and rebalancing your portfolio. So it's and that's something that I think will be extremely attractive to a large base of our customers.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Are there any other ways that you think Questrade's customers will benefit from using Passive? You mentioned the rebalancing was a big piece, and we kind of already covered this, but I just want to make sure if there are any other ways that you think, if someone's an existing Questrade customer, maybe other ways that they can benefit from Passive.
Well, I think Brendan mentioned it earlier, and that is obviously if you're to be a smart longer-term investor. You want to make sure that you're continuing to contribute, and you're doing it in a way that's the proper type of risk and asset allocation for you as a customer or your life stage. And so you want to make sure you're continuing to contribute and continuing to invest. And just as Brendan mentioned it, and I'm not sure, Brendan, you're mentioning it for yourself or your partner, Brendan, but basically continuing to invest and take it, make regular contributions, invest it, make sure it goes into proper asset allocation, and that gets continually rebalanced is 75% of success. And so I think one of the great things this does is encourages you to continue to contribute and make sure that as you get cash in your account, it gets invested and rebalanced.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it seems a bit like it helps maybe even a little bit take the emotional part out of investing a little bit, right? Where people try to get, they try to time the markets maybe a little bit. They start to think, well, maybe should I reinvest now? Should I not? And it seems like, with this partnership you guys have and with Passive, it's, it's all done sort of automatically, right? And so you don't have to, you're not sitting there second guessing yourself, and, you're just in there, you're investing, and it kind of makes that process a lot easier, right? It's not this extra to-do item that you have on your list that, you're already busy enough, and now you have to go and manually rebalance your portfolio. And so you delay it, right? So no, I think that there's a nice really benefit there as well. Now, Brendan, going back to you, what made you decide to build a business around this need?
Sure. So like it all goes back to my partner, business partner and co-founder, who's also named Brendan. So Brendan was investing in mutual funds through his bank, and he did the math and he realized, well, geez, this is just going to be a lot of money that I'm paying in fees. And so he decided to go the self-directed investing route with Questrade. And just like you, Cornell, he found it a bit too much of a hassle to manage his portfolio. So just for a bit of a background reference, he has 6 accounts, three for his wife. Well, yeah, 3 for his wife and 3 for him. And then he just had a kid, and so they had the RESP component added. So now it was up to 7 accounts. So Brendan had a ton of cash going into each of these accounts through either his regular monthly contributions. He had RESPs that were being topped up by the government, and then of course dividends that came on a regular basis. So all of that became very overwhelming, and he just found it too much of a hassle. And then he noticed Questrade had an API, and he's a developer, so he decided to build the original version of Passive to manage his family's investments. And very shortly after, his friends and his families found out about the tool that he was using, and they sort of asked him, well, hey, could you make this available to us? And, he said, all right, sure. And he gave them access. And then a couple months later, I met up with Brendan through a mutual friend, and it was the first time we met. And, we were talking about entrepreneurship, and he was telling me about this app that he built to manage his family's investments. And so we were like, maybe there are others out there that have a need for this tool. And so we took to the Personal Finance Canada subreddit page, and the mods were extremely accommodating, and they were open to the idea. And so they let us post, so we sort of reached out to the community and said, hey guys, we built this cool thing. Do you guys want to try it out and give us some feedback? And it just sort of all snowballed from there to Passive what it is today. And ever since we started Passive and we reached out to folks on Reddit, we've just been seeing a lot more users coming in. They tell their friends and so on, and so it just snowballed. And what I'd like to sort of say is that we really value the feedback that we get from our users, and so even though we've built this tool into business, I think, just going back to your question to Stephen earlier, I think one of the benefits that we're giving to Questrade users too is that we're do-it-yourself investors, and so we understand the problems that you all face because we face them too, and we're also willing to listen. And so we all of the features that we built and will build are driven by our users, and we want to keep it that way.
That's great. And that's so interesting to hear you talk about the other co-founder, Brendan, how you said he had 7 accounts, because that's exactly how many we have as well. And so I can totally relate. And I remember you and I talking about this offline when we first met, right? And it was just, I remember telling you how, if I want to rebalance or if I want to see how I'm doing, I have to log into my wife's account, put all those numbers in a spreadsheet, right? Then go into my own account, pull all those numbers. And then we have kids now too, right? So we have an RESP set up for them too, right? So yeah, basically, 3 accounts each plus an RESP, right? So we're at 7 now. And I mean, and it's not like 7 is bloated, right? I mean, that's what you're supposed to have. I mean, everyone, I would say, should have at least 4 if you don't have kids, an RSP and a TFSA, and then, a non-registered if it's appropriate for your situation, and 5 accounts if you have kids, right? So no matter, even if you're not, if someone with 7 accounts, you should really have at least 4, among 2 different people. And even then, you're going to start feeling the frustration of, okay, I have to log into the other account now. I have to put those numbers in. I have to, do all my calculations that way. So I love how you guys have created a solution for that to make it easy. So that's great. Now, we're talking about rebalancing a lot, but not everyone, here maybe is familiar with rebalancing, what it is, why it's important. Can you talk about, why is it important to keep your portfolio balanced? What is rebalancing as well? And whether we're doing it ourselves or whether we're doing it through you guys, just regardless, why is rebalancing such a big deal for people?
So for starters, you never really want to be overexposed in the market or bearing more risk than they're comfortable with. So to mitigate that risk is essentially why you you rebalance or maintain a balanced portfolio. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're comfortable with a 60-40 split or allocation of stocks and bonds, and the market has a 10-year bull run. And during that time, you haven't rebalanced. You could now be sitting at a 90-10 allocation of stocks and bonds, which is way off from your intended 60-40 allocation. And so what rebalancing does is that it brings you back in line with your desired allocation, so you aren't bearing more risk than you've intended.
For sure. Well, that's a great explanation. So, Brendan, passive is free to use, but I see that there's also, you guys have kind of a premium elite subscription as well. Can you tell us about this elite subscription? What's the difference between the free version versus the paid version? How does all that work?
All right, sure. So we thought it would be the right thing to do to have a free offering. So like you, as a Questrade user, you can get the calculations and for free and essentially log into Questrade and make those trades. Or you can upgrade to Elite, and we have, as of today, we have two features, which is the ability to have one-click trades, which is a premier feature right now, and that's basically, let's say you've got the calculated trades, you can take things a step further and click a button from within passive, and then passive will submit those trades to Questrade so that you don't have to log in and make them yourself. And it really comes in handy for folks who have regular return contribution set up, because it's one less step. The second feature we have is an asset exclusion feature. And so based on some of the feedback we've been getting from users is that, they were saying, well, guys, we follow model ETF portfolios, but I still like to have one-off stock picks on the side. And so could you add the ability to separate these stock picks from my target allocation, because I don't necessarily want to have, my fund money mixed with my retirement savings in my RRSP. And we said, that's interesting. So we built that feature because of, our users asking for that ability to sort of segment their retirement fund from their play money, so to speak.
Gotcha. Yeah, that I think maybe it was pre-Banerjee or someone. I think maybe it was Preet who had that term, the core and explore, I think it's called, right? Where the investors have their kind of core portfolio, but then they might take something like 10% and then they'll do some active investing with that, so that if things go well, great. But if things don't, then it's not like they, sunk all their life savings into, some stocks that they hope to pay off and they never did. So no, that's great. I mean, I like to that you guys are actually taking community feedback and building what people, or have built what people want, as opposed to just kind of guessing and that kind of a thing. But, speaking of updating, are you guys going to be continuing to add more features, or are you pretty much done at this point?
Well, we've got a laundry list of features that we're going to add, but I'll tell you the three main features that are going to be released very shortly. So we've got the ability to rebalance across multiple accounts. We're going to have asset class tagging, and finally, we're going to add portfolio drift notifications. And of the three features that we're going to be releasing very shortly, I'm really excited for cross-account rebalancing because it'll help our users invest in a more tax-efficient manner. And so I'm really, really, really excited about that.
So is that the one where you can have, let's say, you and your spouse are in it together and it looks at your entire portfolios holistically and then rebalances according to that? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's the one I'm really excited about because, we have the whole dual authentication set up on our account. So it's like anytime I want to log into my wife's account, I have to get the phone code and all this, all these security measures, right? And then I have to do the same for me, just to pull the data. So it'd be so neat to be able to see everything all at once in one, on one page essentially, right? And have it all balanced instead of me always copying it over to the spreadsheet and then, running my fancy Excel spreadsheet. So, no, that's awesome. So Stephen, let's kick things over to you a little bit. Now, none of this would really be possible without Questrade's APIs. Why did Questrade decide to invest in APIs? And, there's a lot of people I'm sure that listen to this that don't maybe, they're not programmers. They don't really even know what APIs are. I pretty much learned a lot about APIs just from talking with you guys and Passive, because we're not the programming people. What are APIs? How does it work? Maybe you can talk about that. The security. Maybe you can mention that as well. That'd be great.
Okay, yeah. So I'll give you the non-technical definition of an API because the non-programming version, and that's simply that an API allows connectivity into something while not in any way violating what you're dealing with. And so it allows you to add capability or features to things and to connect to things that you're already using. And in this particular case, we created an API so people could connect and add feature and functionality to their Questrade account. And Passive is a great example of that, and you asked about security. What Passive doesn't do is Passive, it has the ability to help you identify where you may need to rebalance, or even do with the Elite product to do one-click rebalancing. It doesn't in any way go in and reveal any information that's confidential customer information. So the API just provides the connectivities for greater functionality. And and people, we have a security guarantee, and that security guarantee still applies whether you're using Passive or not, because, as I say, Passive doesn't go into the account in any way that risks any violation.
Gotcha. So is that the guarantee where I think it's been a while since I went on your site for that section, but it was something like $10 million or something like that. Is that the one you're referring to?
Yeah, there's an account guarantee where, we obviously people, every security guarantee in the digital world, you got to do things like make sure you're not getting your credentials compromised. But it makes sure that, you can have confidence in our platform that we're going to make sure that nobody can access your money or our platform. And there's a guarantee that if anything ever happened, that as I say, I think it's up to a $10 million guarantee per account.
Okay, that's great. So even though you guys don't own Passive, right? Passive is its own company. They are, if I'm using Passive and something was to happen, I'm still covered under that sort of Questrade guarantee, is what you're saying.
Yeah, if anything that happens with your account, if there's anything that got compromised from the Questrade side, that's what the guarantee applies to, whether you're using Passive or not.
That's great.
Yeah, but it's for everybody, and I think it's important for security. For anything, everybody has to protect their own credentials, right? You got to make sure that the customer, in security, there's always a customer has to make sure that they're not in any way getting their own personal credentials compromised. So.
For sure, yeah. I mean, everyone has to, do with the secure passwords and like dual authentication, possible things like that. Definitely.
Yeah. We also have two-factor authentication if people want to be extra careful. We have two-factor authentication. Available.
And that's a great feature. I actually recently switched both my wife and my account to the dual-factor authentication, and I was like, I hope it's still going to work well with Passive, right? Because now, like, are you going to text me, temporary code every time I want to see Passive? But no, it actually worked really, really well. So I was still able to see everything holistically. But if I actually do want to go on the Questrade, I get the two-factor authentication. So that was really, really great. And I'll mention too, I know when I was signing up for Passive for the first time and I was taking it for a spin, it was interesting because I was in Passive. But then when it was time to actually enter my Questrade credentials so that they could pull the data, that was actually on Questrade's platform. So I remember I looked at the address bar and I was actually in Questrade. I was no longer in Passive, right? So that I remember that gave me quite a bit of peace of mind because I'm like, okay, I'm never actually entering my username and password outside of Questrade. I'm inside, the Questrade platform the entire time. So I know that was a really big, just tip of the hat to you, Brendan, for doing things that way, because it really helped me feel safe that I know I'm not on some third party side. I'm still dealing directly with Questrade when it comes to that really sensitive information. So
And that's the benefit of the API connection.
Sorry, say again?
That's the benefit of the API connection.
Oh, okay, yeah. So no, it was really, really useful. Now, Stephen, last time I spoke with Edward, your CEO, he mentioned how you didn't have any sort of plans to eliminate the free buying of ETFs through Questrade. Do you have any plans to modify or change this in the coming future, or are things still pretty much as they were before?
We do not. I think it's a great feature. It's when you asked about investing before, self-directed investing, the self-directed investor segment of the investing market in Canada is one of the fastest growing, and ETFs is one of the fastest growing area in investing. So no, it's a great feature for us. It's something that our customers really value, and we have no plans at this point to change it.
That's great. And I like with you guys how you let people buy. But basically, any ETF I ever wanted to buy, I was able to buy it for free through Questrade, which I remember researching this. And that's not the case with all different brokerages. Like I know there are some brokerages that will, in their marketing, they'll say things like, oh yes, you can buy ETFs for free from us too. But then you start digging into the fine print and it's actually only a certain set of ETFs, right? So I mean, and to me, that's I don't want to have one brokerage to buy one set of ETFs and then have another one to buy another. You know what I mean? So I want to have everything just in one. It makes things a lot simpler. So I like with you guys, I've never in my years with you guys ran into any sort of restrictions where I want to buy an ETF, but I couldn't buy it for free because you only offer it for free on this particular basket of ETFs. So so no, I just want to kind of call that out because it was a really it basically made me a very happy customer, to say the least. So now I
think it's a huge competitive advantage for us.
For sure, yeah. And now we've been hearing more and more about some companies moving to commission-free trading for both stocks and ETFs. What are your thoughts about this shift in the marketplace that's happening right now?
Historically there have been some companies who offered that. They're not around anymore. So I think, let's face it, nothing in life is totally free. And, we have been focused very much on providing outstanding value, and that means low commissions, certainly lower than the major competitors in the marketplace, the traditional institutions, much lower. The second is free ETFs. The third is we have outstanding customer service. So whenever you need help, we have exceptional customer service, and you can get it. And that's a big part for most investors. They want to make sure there's somebody there that they can talk to when they have a question or they have a concern. And we've really worked on continuing to improve our offering in all of those areas. Plus, we're constantly looking at things that make it easier for customers to succeed. And passive is a good example of that. As you see from all the communications we have in the marketplace, we're a very customer-centric company. We really believe we're here to help make Canadians successful. And if we do that, our business will grow. So, we got a great offering. We have registered, non-registered accounts. If you want to do RSPs, TFSAs, you want to do cash margin accounts, we have dual currency accounts. We have wide access across markets. We're about to introduce new markets in the not too distant future. The insurance you mentioned, we have ease and flexibility in terms of how you fund or withdraw or transfer. The guarantee you talked about. And then we have all sorts of other things like, your ability to trade in FX, margin power, great research tools, et cetera. So I think if you're looking for, a complete offering, that's what we want to provide, not just something that's, I think you mentioned it earlier, not something that's here today and gone tomorrow or has a very restricted offering.
For sure. And I mean, I do want to kind of call out your customer service, because I've dealt with your customer service team quite a bit. In particular, I do Norbert's Gambit for the currency conversion. And I remember the first time I was doing it, I thought, okay, this is going to be rough because I have to reach out to the customer service, and it's not like a beginner level tactic that, with doing the Norbert's Gambit currency conversion. So I thought, okay, I'm probably going to get a person. They're probably going to have to not know what I'm talking about. They're going to escalate it to someone else. Hopefully the second person knows. Hopefully they don't have to keep asking. You know what I mean? And I was getting mentally ready to, you know what I mean? Because typically with other businesses that I've dealt with in the past, I mean, if you want something that isn't, cookie cutter, simple, basic for the masses, not everyone knows the solution to that, right? And so it can be rough from the customer service angle. But I will say every single time that I've done Norbert's Gambit, which has been quite a bit, every single time the person knew exactly what I was talking about. They were able to help me exactly on the spot, efficiently. They gave me all the info I needed to know. I was blown away by it because, like I said, I was expecting it to be very painful, and it was super, super efficient. So, I mean, I don't know who does your training and all that, but they're doing a really good job. At least, So yeah, I just want to say thanks for doing such a good job in that department for sure, because it saved me a big headache.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the feedback. We really value that. We have a very, very detailed training program and different levels of training that our agents go through. We have a very simple thing. We want to be the very best at this and provide the most value to customers, because this is important stuff. This is their money. This is, as we say in our commercials, this is their retirement. This is their dreams. This is their families, and we take it seriously. And it's about them, not about us.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, I remember even talking to one of your random customer service employees about passive, and they knew about passive. They provided me with all the info. Like I actually reached out to them at one point and said, hey, with passive, how secure is it? If they're pulling my data, that kind of a thing. And they knew exactly what I was talking about. They knew about passive. They were able to assure me about the APIs and the security and the safety, and how I'm still covered under the guarantee, the quantities guarantee, and all that. So I was like, wow, this is really impressive, because this isn't even something, they're dealing with another company, right? And you guys are supporting passive in that way as well. So it was really impressive, because you don't see that very often in other industries is what I'm trying to say. So, so very, very neat. Now, Stephen, just switching topics a bit. So you've recently released a study on the top RSP misconceptions that Canadians have. Can you tell us a bit about this study, what you guys found, and what we can all learn from it as Canadians?
Yeah, we did. You know what? We are constantly talking to customers, learning about how we can help them and what they're concerned about, what they understand, what they don't understand. You see that in some of our communications, helping them to ask better questions, to be better informed. So we did a study this year on RSP misconceptions, and obviously we've just gone through RSP season. But what people don't understand is, you can optimize your RSPs at any point in time during the year. So whether you got to make the contribution to get the tax deduction by the beginning of March, but you can improve the quality of those registered investments at any time during the year. So what happened is we did some research, and we found out that only half of Canadians believe it's easy to move their RSP between providers or institutions, because one, they were worried about the tax implications of the transfer. And the truth is, you can move your RSP account at any time during the year as long as you keep it in a registered vehicle. Then there is no tax implication. Canadians are worried that if they move it, there may be there may be high fees associated with that. And so one of the things that we have done is, and we've just extended it, we rebate transfer fees. So if you have any transfer fees, we rebate the transfer fees. And we've just extended that offering through to the middle of this year. So people, if they want to get lower fees, and those fees can make a huge difference to the accumulation over time and how much money you end up with at the end. And so we also are reimbursing transfer fees. And we're extending that offer through to June 31st. And a lot of people are taking advantage of that.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I know. I've helped family transfer their accounts as well, and yeah, we've never had any sort of issue or anything like that. It all went smoothly, and then you guys have that chat as well, right on the site. So if someone isn't sure about something or aren't sure exactly how to fill out the form, you guys can help them. So yeah, no, I was definitely happy with it, because I could see that being a very intimidating process for a lot of people, especially if someone's going from having a expensive advisor to all of a sudden being a DIY investor. This can kind of, be a bit of a barrier. I think people see that as being, right. But I'm glad you guys make it, make it easy. At least it was definitely easy for us whenever I did it for families. So no, that's great. Now it's been a while since somebody from Questrade was on the show. Your CEO Edward was on a while back. But what is Questrade focused on now for this year? What can we expect to see from you guys in the coming years? And are there any exciting initiatives that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I think we have been, we believe one of the most important things we can do is to help to educate, empower Canadians to end up with more of their money, quite frankly, and to earn more through their investments. And one of the most important ways Canadians can do that is to take a close look at the fees they're paying. Because if you reduce your fees by 1% to 2%, that's what will generate, you ending up with 30% more, 30% up to 30%, and sometimes more than 30% at the end. And that's huge because, you're still investing in the marketplace. That's not changing. It's just how you're doing it. You're doing it with lower fee vehicles and lower fee partner, and that makes a huge difference. And I think Brendan mentioned that at the end. That was the genesis of his partner Brendan's actual interest in creating this tool. So we're looking for ways to continue to provide new vehicles, new tools, better research. So we're improving our research that we have at Questrade. We're doing more tools and education. We're adding new things like passive. Passive, I think, is a huge new benefit for our customers. I don't think Brendan mentioned it. Typically, that elite product would be the basic product, passive product is available to anybody free as a Questrade customer. And then the elite product, which typically would be, I think, $5 a month and $60 a year. If you're a Questrade customer, you will get that for $40 or just over $3 per month. So, you can do the one-click rebalancing. So we're constantly looking for new things that will continue to improve our offering. We've improved our Quest Wealth Portfolios offering this year with new lower fees, some of the lowest in the robo market. And I think you're going to continue to see new product innovation from Questrade as we continue to grow and we get greater and greater interest from customers in terms of more efficient solutions to help them.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah, I mean, it seems like many years ago, if you wanted to be a DIY investor and not just have an advisor do everything for you, it was a really steep learning curve. There was a lot of barriers, you had to get through, and it was just, you really had to want those lower fees to be able to put in that work and all that research to figure out how to actually do it. And it seems like now, with what you guys are doing, with what Passive is doing, how you're integrating everything, it seems like there isn't this giant barrier anymore. There's not this steep learning curve that you have to try to plow through anymore. You just kind of, so even if you're just getting started, you can actually just start off being, a DIY investor, and you're just making, you guys seem both really focused on making this easier and easier for investors so that you don't have to be paying, 2.5% MERs for 10 years before you realize, hey, maybe I should do something about this. You can start off doing things, in a fee efficient way right off the bat. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate that you guys are making this a priority for your companies. Ultimately it makes Canadians wealthier, lets them retire earlier. So, I really like what you guys are doing. And I appreciate you guys being on the show. So Brendan, maybe going back to you a little bit here, tell us a bit more about how we can sign up for free and get started using Passive.
Sure. So first you'll need to go to www.getpassive.com/Canada and sign up. Now, a quick note, Passive is spelled without the E at the end. So it's PASSIV. And that website again is www.getpassive.com/Canada. So after signing up, you'll be asked to link your Questrade account and set a target allocation for your portfolio. And once you do that, you'll see the calculated trades that you need to keep your portfolio balanced. And we'll also tell you how accurate and close you are in regards to that target you've just set. If you do not have a Questrade account, upon sign up, we'll route you to Questrade so that you can get one and come back and use passive. And as Stephen just mentioned, we are actively running promotions with Questrade to lower the cost of Elite from $60 a year all the way down to $40 a year. So that's a great savings, and it wouldn't be possible without the team at Questrade, subsidizing the cost of Elite for all of their clients.
That's great. Yeah. So if someone wants to sign up, they basically, because I could see some listeners wondering, okay, wait, do I go to Questrade first and sign up? What if I'm already signed up? Like, what's the process? So it sounds like the easiest process is just go to getpassive.com/Canada. There you sign up to Passive, and if you have a Questrade account already, then great, it gets linked up right there. If you don't, then you can basically get one for free right there on the spot as well. So you don't have to go, to two different sites. You don't have to, wonder, hey, how do I integrate the two now? It's all basically done through Passive. It sounds like, right, Brendan?
Yeah, you essentially could go to Questrade and create accounts as well.
If you want.
But either way, all roads lead to Rome, or in this case, Questrade, because in our opinion, that's probably where you want to be if you're saving for retirement and you're using low-cost ETFs. So, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
If you don't have a Questrade account,
we'll be promoting it to our to all of our clients in the not too distant future. We'll be letting them know of this great new capability that they can link to their account, or if they want, sign up to the Elite version of it for one-click rebalancing it. So you can either go directly to getpassive.com, or if you're a Questrade customer, we're going to create an easy way to link and add this capability to your account.
That's great. Yeah, well, thanks a lot, guys. That's great. I mean, I like I said, I've already been using it for a while. I found the process very, very straightforward. It was easy. Everything was secure. I felt very comfortable with it, and I'm a pretty nervous guy when it comes to security and things like that. So I think Brendan can. I have a whole list of questions I remember asking Brendan before actually jumping on board and trying it. But yeah, everything checked out, and I mean Questrade stands behind it, which is awesome as well, right? They they're not. It's all supported. You still get the guarantee. The security of that. So I had a great process signing up, and yeah, once it's set up, it's really, really easy. You just go in there and you can see everything right away. You see your whole portfolio and how much rebalancing you have to do. So it's fantastic. I've had a great experience with it. Thanks so much, guys, for coming on. I appreciate you guys doing initiatives like this. I mean, it makes things so much easier for DIY investors like like myself and like many of the listeners of the show. And thanks for making things easier for the beginner investors too, who are trying to learn this, but maybe they're finding it a bit overwhelming, and you guys are removing those. You're lowering that difficulty curve. So I appreciate you doing that for Canadians a lot.
Thank you, Cornell. Thank you for taking the time, and we're thrilled to be working with Passive. It's not just a great company and a great utility for investors, but Brendan and Brennan are great guys doing it for the right reason.
Awesome. All right, guys.
Thanks so much, and thanks for having us. And we'll hear from you soon, Cornell.
Sounds good. Yeah, talk to you soon, and I look forward to the updates as well. It's going to be. I look forward to checking them out as soon as they get launched as well.
Thanks, Cornell.
Awesome.
All right, take care, guys. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, I hope you enjoyed the interview. Definitely don't forget to sign up for free to Passive to get the free rebalancing tool and the automatic dividend notifications so that you no longer have cash just sitting there in your account earning you nothing. It's totally awesome. I've been using it. I'm totally hooked, and I even became one of their elite members so that I can have them do trades for me as well as see the accounts for my entire household in one place. It's definitely been really time-saving experience, to say the least. So definitely check it out. You can get a free account over at buildwealthcanada.ca/passive. That's buildwealthcanada.ca/passive. All right, have a good week. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Build Wealth Canada podcast at www.buildwealthcanada.ca.